A repeater is an automated radio station usually situated at a high elevation designed to receive a signal and simultaneously retransmit it at a higher power. Its primary purpose is to extend the communication range of mobile and handheld radios that are otherwise limited by line of sight propagation. While HF setups rely on the ionosphere to bounce signals over the horizon, VHF and UHF signals travel in a straight line. If a mountain or the curvature of the earth blocks the path between two handheld radios, a repeater placed on a tall tower or mountain acts as a high power middleman so both stations can hear each other. This is exactly the same principle used by low Earth orbit satellites, which act as flying repeaters in orbit. To receive and transmit simultaneously without blowing out its own circuitry, a repeater relies on a few key components. Frequency offset shift. Repeaters use two different frequencies, an uplink, the frequency you transmit to, and a downlink, the frequency you listen to. Your radio is programmed to shift its frequency automatically when you press the PTT. Duplexer. Instead of using separate TX and RX antennas, repeaters use a cavity duplexer, a set of highly tuned mechanical filters. This allows both the transmitter and receiver to share a single antenna without the repeater's massive output power deafening its own receiver. Duty cycle. Unlike a standard SSB homebrew rig or linear amplifier designed for intermittent voice peaks, a repeater's transmitter must handle a 100% duty cycle. It stays keyed on and transmitting continuously the entire time a user is speaking, which requires heavy duty heat sinks and cooling. Access tones, CTCSS or DCS. To prevent random RF noise from constantly triggering the transmitter, you generally must transmit a sub-audible tone like 88.5 Hz along with your voice. The repeater only opens its squelch if it detects that specific tone. Repeaters are predominantly found on the VHF and UHF bands where line of sight limits direct communication. Here are the most common bands and their standard frequency offsets using the typical IARU region 3 allocation, that is our region. 2 meter VHF band, frequency range 144 to 146 MHz, standard offset is 600 kHz. 70 cm UHF band, frequency range 430 to 440 MHz, standard offset 5 MHz. 1.25 meter VHF band, frequency range 220 to 225 MHz, standard offset 1.6 MHz. 6 meter VHF band, frequency range 50 to 54 MHz, standard offset 500 to 1 MHz, that is 500 kHz to 1 MHz. 10 meter HF band, 28 to 29.7 MHz, standard offset 100 kHz. 23 cm UHF band, frequency 1.2 GHz range and standard offset is 12 MHz. While 2 meter and 70 cm are overwhelmingly the most populated, you will occasionally find 10 meter repeaters. Because 10 meter is capable of skywave propagation, these repeaters can sometimes be triggered by stations thousands of miles away during solar conditions, creating fascinating and chaotic long distance pileup. One of my local ham radio operators has been able to access 10 meter repeater in Australia. That's quite a long distance.